Hi guys, it is Kate here for a discussion video for you today, and I'd like to discuss character-driven mysteries versus puzzle-driven mysteries. These are two categories I've kind of been ruminating on for a while, and basically many of the Golden Age mysteries I read are puzzle mysteries, and I couldn't figure out exactly what it is about puzzle mysteries that I just don't enjoy so much. What is it about Golden Age mysteries that feels so different to me, even though I love to watch the film adaptations of Hercule Poirot or the Miss Marple ones? Like, what's so different that I can enjoy the TV adaptation of it, but I can't really enjoy the book as much? And then a thought came to me when I was reading a newer mystery that definitely had lots of action in it, but also had character development. And so when it comes down to it, I think there's just more character development in newer mysteries, in most newer mysteries, with a couple caveats, a couple exceptions, as in the Lord Peter Wimsey series by Dorothy Sayers. I have only read two of those, but the first that I read, Whose Body, definitely felt more like a puzzle mystery. Didn't have much character development, but Strong Poison, which was a much later one in the series, I absolutely loved because it had all of the fun elements of a Golden Age one, but it also had more character development. And so I guess when it comes down to it, I think Golden Age mysteries were written when the mystery genre was very, very new. The whole concept of having a mystery didn't appear until the Victorian era. And so that's not much longer, much later after the Victorian era. It's about, 50 years afterwards. And so the mystery genre is still very new. And I think that there can be so much more. There's so much more to mysteries. And so I feel like newer mysteries, you can do the puzzle, and then some. You can even kick it up a notch. I think you can have both of those things. So I think in a way that the puzzle mystery is very simplistic and just looks at things too one-dimensional. So I'd like to talk about two Golden Age mysteries that were kind of the catalyst for this video, in addition to a newer mystery that I'll address at the end of the video that definitely is more character driven. So the first in the Golden Age mysteries is Grey Mask by Patricia Wentworth. This is the very first in the Miss Silver series, and there are a lot in the Miss Silver series. I think I looked and it's close to 30 mysteries. So it is a very well-loved series. A lot of people who like the Golden Age mysteries love this series. And the synopsis of this is there is a guy who has been away from home for several years. And he comes home to the flat that his family owns, and he overhears a conversation. And he can tell from the nature of the conversation that it's very sinister. And he can kind of peek through a little eye hole and see the conversation happening in a room in his old flat. But people have kind of taken over this flat. And there is a man wearing a gray mask, and it's very just sinister and haunting looking. So there's that's happening. In addition to that, there is a girl whose father has passed away, and it's up in the air whether she will get his inheritance, whether she is his legitimate child. And she is one of the reasons why this mystery was ruined for me so much, because she is so annoying. And she is such a caricature of people. There's not anyone that I've known in real life who's as one-dimensional as that. People are so complex. People are not just naive. People are not just evil. They have so many different layers to themselves. And so I think that's one thing that really bothers me about Golden Age mysteries. So it is a common theme that I've noticed in the Golden Age mysteries that I read, that the characters feel very caricatured, very one-dimensional, not full-bodied, not complex, and not realistic. So therefore, someone I cannot relate to myself as a whole, fully-fledged, fully dimensional human being who's very complicated and not just one element. I'm many different elements and, kind of changing throughout the years. These characters are very stagnant and very exaggerated. They have these characteristics that just make them feel not relatable. And so that particular character I was talking about in Grey Mask, she just drove me nuts because there's no one I know who's that exaggeratedly naive. There's no one I know who is, as silly as some of these characters. They just don't feel relatable. They don't feel human. And so I think there's so much emphasis put on the mystery in these older mysteries that then they're kind of allowed to let slide with the character development. And the next mystery that I wanted to talk about is Ngaio Marsh's Enter a Murderer. Ngaio Marsh also has a really wonderful reputation as one of the best of the Golden Age detectives. And pretty much a couple chapters into this, I could tell it was the same thing with the one-dimensional, caricatured characters in this. So Enter a Murder does have a really interesting premise. There is a playhouse, and there are several people who have conflicts with one another, actors in this playhouse, and there is a murder play. And so in the play, there is a gun that they use blanks to, do the shooting with. And then lo and behold, one night during a performance, the gun with the alleged blanks is shot and it ends up being a real bullet. And an actor, is actually killed on stage. It's not just part of the performance. And in this one, it's the same deal. I love mysteries, don't get me wrong. I like having something to figure out. But the emphasis is so much put on the mystery that the characters are just pushed to the wayside. It's like, it doesn't matter if the characters are interesting or realistic or complex or conflicted. It's just they can fit these certain requirements. It's like Nio Marsh needed a list of suspects. She's got those. All she needs to do is give the motive for each of them, and then we move on and we just solve the mystery. And I really just don't enjoy it. There was, of course, there's going to be a girl who's stuck in a love triangle and, being pursued by this man she doesn't love that much. And to me, they just feel very formulaic. It just was something I kind of knew as soon as I started reading. Oh, this mystery and I are not going to get along. So I do think there is a certain skill lacking in a writer that can only do the puzzle but cannot also do the character part. So the final mystery I wanted to talk about in this discussion video is a more modern one, and that is from the Maisie Dobbs series, and it is the third in the Maisie Dobbs series, and it is called Pardonable Lies. I finished this last night, and Maisie Dobbs is quickly becoming one of my very favorite series. So what I love about newer mysteries are the fact that you get to know the people so intimately. You get to know their motivations. You get to know why they do the things that they do. You get in their head. They're psychological mysteries. And I think that there is a certain elevated skill level to a mystery writer who can not only give you a fascinating puzzle, but can also get in the head of the people that are the characters in this. And also, for detective series where you are knowing the investigator long term throughout the course of this series, there are things that you know about in their past that motivate them to do the things that they do, and sequential ones in the series. In this Maisie Dobbs, I think that a gripe that some people have with newer mysteries is that they aren't action oriented enough. But in this Maisie Dobbs, there are two soldiers who were declared missing during World War I, who she is asked by different family members to find. There's a girl on death row, a 13-year-old girl who was accused of killing her uncle. And there have also been several attempts made on Maisie's life. So there's all of this action happening, so much action happening, but then there's also a really good ratio of character development. Jacqueline Winspear in this book is able to address all four of those very action-oriented things. I really was on the edge of my seat. There was so much happening. But in that, she's also able to deal with Maisie's trauma from her time as a nurse in World War I and all of the crazy stuff that she witnessed and how she hasn't still fully processed it. And to me, that is a more skilled author. Someone who is able to take all of this action and then zone in on the psyche of the main character and show how they're developing as a person. I think that's basically what I wanted to say, and I really liked that at the end, Maisie is not the same person that she was at the beginning. I just think it's a more realistic portrayal of humanity. You get to see her change and really process through some of these really hard things that she saw in the war, and also her former fiance, who's now just, his mind is utterly destroyed and decimated by the war. He just isn't able to recover. And you get to see Maisie develop through this. And so it was a really fun, adventurous story. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was really interested in the mystery, but I also felt this great connection to Maisie. And at the end of the day, you see a lot of things resolved with her, but also the action resolved and all of the different things taken care of. She's back home. She's safe. Everything has been figured out. And I think that's a really spectacular kind of, hopefully that made some sense, that communicated to those of you mystery lovers. And that's just my more like fully fleshed out, fully thought out theory on why I like newer mysteries. Now I'm going to say AKA character driven mysteries. So I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion video. Please leave me comments down below. I am really up for respectful discussion. If you really like Golden Age mysteries, you can tell me why. And I will see you guys for another video soon.